What a wonderful week this has been. It's hard to believe that we're nearing the end. Thanks to everyone who helped make this Magnet Conference such a great success. Our sponsors, our exhibitors, our wonderful Texas co-hosts, our volunteers, our outstanding general session speakers, concurrent session and poster presenters, and especially our dedicated staff members who have worked tirelessly to plan and produce this week's conference. Congratulations again to the Magnet Nurses of the Year, our Magnet Prize winner, Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, and our distinguished Margaretta Madden Stiles President's awardee, Janice Moran. All in all, it's been an outstanding Magnet experience every hour, every day.
And for my part, I have really enjoyed connecting with all of you this week and meeting so many of you in person. Thanks to you, the Magnet Recognition Program has been strengthened this week, and really, we have lots of new family members that we're glad to welcome for our first-time attendees and those who were here with us the last 3 days. Now everyone gets to go home and share all of your incredible experiences with your colleagues.
Boy, this week went fast. In case you missed any part of it, please take a look at the 2017 highlight video.
It's actually nurses first, not always patient first. Because just like on a commercial airliner, when that oxygen mask drops down, you put that on your own face first so that you can then go out and help other people.
It is my first Magnet Conference and I'm having an excellent time. Houston is definitely putting their best foot forward.
I feel empowered, I feel excited, I feel enlightened, I feel enthused, and the magnitude is just overwhelming in such a wonderful way, and we're so grateful to be here, and it's just been a really, really great experience so far.
Our sponsors and exhibitors are the reason that we're able to put the Magnet Conference on. We just simply could not do it without their support. And most importantly, we're so thankful that our attendees have spent so much time with our exhibitors and sponsors this year.
I think it's important for nurses to attend the Magnet Conference so that they get an experience to really understand what Magnet is.
Gives us a chance to see some places that we may not get to see because we're taking care of patients, and that's our first priority.
We will always take care of our patients and do what's best for our patients. And that's what Magnet is. It's nursing excellence.
This conference has been just wonderful. We can come here and celebrate the best of nursing and focus on learning and collaboration.
People work very hard for this, and it's really important to celebrate all of the accomplishments.
We got a mechanical bull. You can ride a bull, and that's no bull.
My parents passed away last year, and every tool I had to deal with that I learned from nurses. And it made me feel enormous gratitude to all of you for the work that you do, what you teach us. I wish it could seep out into the whole world and everybody could get a really good taste of it.
We have seen such an amazing response to our Disaster Relief Fund. Tens of thousands of dollars from the attendees at the Magnet Conference and from exhibitors and sponsors. It has been unprecedented, and we are so, so grateful.
Best Magnet Conference ever.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you next year in Denver. Woo!
Did we do all of that in just 3 days? Phew.
We sure did. It was such a great week, and we are so pleased that you were all here with us. Thank you again to our amazing host city, Houston, and our amazing co-host hospitals. Please join me in welcoming back to the stage the new director of the Magnet Recognition Program, Rebecca Greystone.
Thank you so much. I'm proud to introduce a time-honored Magnet Conference tradition. If you watched the Olympics closing ceremonies, you saw the host city pass the torch to the next host city. You think that was impressive? That was nothing. It's time for the Magnet Conference handoff from Texas to Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2017 Houston area and 2018 Colorado co-hosts.
1, 2, 3. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Come on, come on. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Come on, come on. Na 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 na, hey hey hey. Goodbye. We'll go for love you. The way that we love you, so please don't
Well, of all the co-host handoffs we've seen, that one was, well, the most recent. And our co-host hospitals absolutely spared no expense on props. No, really, a big thank you to our East Houston area hospitals, well, for just about everything this week. Yay! And Colorado, we so look forward to seeing you next year. So let's give them another big hand. After all, they have given us a big hand today. And thanks to the Grooves for joining in the fun. Weren't they amazing? Before I introduce our final keynote speaker, and I will promise you, everyone complained to me, not complained, but everyone said to me yesterday, we're so tired of crying. Please stop making us cry. And we are absolutely going to make you laugh until it hurts this afternoon to send you home. So we're very excited about that. But before I introduce our final keynote speaker, let's take one more look at the results from the ANF Disaster Relief Fund. You should be very proud of yourselves. That is amazing, absolutely amazing. So together we've raised $94,442, and I could not be more proud. However, someone remind me, what was the goal we set for ourselves earlier this week? $100,000, and we are so close. Just before I came on stage, we found out that one of our great vendors is going to do a $3,000 match if we can raise $3,000 more this afternoon. And I know we've been asking a lot of you, but I think you can see that our hosts in Houston have given so much to us, and we certainly want to give back. And so let's do what we can to get ourselves over the $100,000 goal for this week. So please, let's make that happen. And just because the conference is ending doesn't mean you have to stop giving. When you get home, please tell your nurse colleagues, physicians, administrators, friends, relatives, really anyone with two opposing thumbs that they are able to contribute. It will mean so much to the disaster relief here through Rebuild Together Houston and in other areas that urgently need help, especially places like Puerto Rico where 90% of the island is still without power. So once again, you can text NURSE to 20222 to give $10, or text MAGNET to 20222 to donate $25, or of course, through our mobile app, you can donate to the American Nurses Foundation. I also want to mention that it's not too soon to be part of next October's conference in Dallas. Among the many reasons that you attend our conference are to share best practices, your successes, lessons learned, to network, and of course, come away with new ideas to transform your organizations. In addition, Magnet emphasizes personal development. So in that vein, I invite all of you to engage with us by submitting an abstract for the 2018 ANCC National Magnet Conference. We're doing something new this year, and the call for abstracts opens today and ends on November 27th of 2017. We're also very interested in having you join us to review abstracts and help us develop the program for next year's meeting. The call for abstracts also opens, the call for abstract reviewers also opens today, and that will close on November 3rd. Please go to the ANCC Magnet website for online applications, and we thank you so much for making this such a great meeting year after year. And now it is my pleasure to introduce a dear friend and colleague, our final keynote speaker. The Director of Magnet Professional Practice and Parish Nursing for Carle Foundation Hospital in Urbana, Illinois, she draws on her extensive experience in administration, education, and clinical practice. Her unique ability to blend theory with reality makes her presentations powerful and enjoyable. Her amazing gift of storytelling captivates her audience to both the drama and humor found in nursing practice. Please welcome my dear friend and colleague, Faith Roberts.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the last session of the Magnet Congress for 2017. It has been an incredible experience for most of us, and I would also say it's going to be a different experience when we head back to work, isn't it? Because you know, when you go back to work, everyone will look at you and say, "Did you drink the Magnet Kool-Aid?" They will say, "Why are you filling out all those purchase orders?" And you're going to say, "We don't have time for a value analysis team. We need to order everything I saw in the exhibit hall now." It's understanding that when we come back, we are so filled with enthusiasm and excitement and all the new ideas we heard, that incredible poster sessions, the incredible moments we've had together, and that's what nursing is. This is my 42nd year of nursing, and it's all about the moments. It's not about the drudgery and the parts of it that we don't really get energy from. It's from the moments. I come to work for 3 reasons. I come to work for the patients, their families, and my coworkers. I have never had all 3 hit on the same day. If that happened, I would know I was on drugs. But I will tell you that I have never come to work for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. I do not find them to be affirming in my life. I will follow the policies, I will follow the procedures, but I come to work for 3 reasons. My patients, their families, and my coworkers. And you know what? When I think of my patients, I always think of this, that moment in life when you're at work and you're tired and you have nothing left. And you're in the patient room, and if we were completely honest, I'm not even thinking about that patient. I'm thinking about the one down the hall that I have that is sicker than this one. And I'm trying to figure out how I can get the work in this room done so I can get down the hall. And just as I get ready to leave in that absent-minded kind of stupor, the patient grabs my hand and says, "Thanks, honey." And I think, I'm back. It is the patients who bring me back every time. When I think of the families, I always think of this. Now, you heard that I am the Magnet Project Director at Carl, and I've got professional practice and some other things to keep me busy, but it is the families that have always made me smile. And I will tell you this, that not every day in nursing has been good. There have been days, now I know you wouldn't do it because you're Magnet nurses at the top, but haven't there been days that you come to work and when you wake up in the morning, you're happy for about a half a nanosecond, but then you remember that you're still mad from the day before? It's truly my favorite part. Like you wake up and you think, "Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I've got to go back." So what I do, and I learned this in Iowa, and it really helps, just resign on the elevator. It's a good way to do it. So I worked on a neural unit that was on the 6th floor. I would get on the elevator in the morning and I would just press every button. And this is how I would press them. They can just wait for me. And it would jerk up 1 floor at a time, and I'd think, I hate this place. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit at noon. I don't know who made up that 2-week rule, but I'm quitting at noon just to watch their sorry little mouths drop open. And just then, the elevator doors on 6 would open, and there'd be a neural family there, and they'd see me, and their face would change, and they'd say, "Oh, Faith, are you on? Oh, good." and I'd think, I'm back. I come to work for my patients, my families, and my coworkers. When I worked in Kansas City, this may surprise some of you, but when I worked in Kansas City, we were a 90% certified staff back then, and we were very high seniority next to the OR, because the OR always wins on seniority, okay? So next to them, we had the highest seniority, and I come to work one day, and one of our young healthcare techs announces she's gonna have a baby. I should have also told you that next to me there was only one younger nurse. Do you know how long it had been since we'd had a baby shower? It had been decades. We were so excited about this baby shower. And the unit secretary said, "Do you guys know why you're so happy? It's because you finally have money. When you were young and pregnant, we just passed the same sorry sleeper around." She said, "Now you have money." And by gosh, we were obsessed with this woman. And halfway through the pregnancy, she told us that the father of the baby would not be involved in the baby's life, and that is very sad. But to be honest, it just made us go buy more. So it's the day before the shower, I'm getting ready to go home, and one of the staff said, "Faith, we forgot to ask you, will you make the punch?" I make a real good punch. And I said, "Sure, I'll make the punch." And so I went to the store and I got everything for the punch, and I put it in my fridge, and I went to bed. And in the morning when I got up, I got everything out of my fridge and took it to work and put it in the right refrigerator. And then my patients started bothering me. They started turning on their lights and asking for stuff. "I have to go to the bathroom. I'm hungry. I'm having pain." And I would look at them and think, "Will you stop? We are gonna have a shower today. And I'm making the punch." And along the way, 2 other nurses noticed I wasn't myself. And to be real honest, along the way, I noticed they were answering my lights. And then it was time to go make the punch. If you're rehab, you know what time the party was. It was at 1, because all God's children must be back in therapy at 1. So that's when we have our parties. And we called the healthcare tech over to the OT kitchen. We had everything set up. She came in, we yelled surprise. It was awesome. But on the ride home, a little voice in my head said, "Faith, were you a good nurse today?" And my answer was no. But I worked with a group of people who saw that I wasn't myself and had my back. I come to work for my coworkers. Our middle son has successfully completed 2 tours in the Middle East with the United States Air Force. Both times when he came back to Illinois, who surrounded us at the airport? The people we work with. You guys, the relationships you have at work, nobody else can quite understand them. So let me give you the 4th thing I come to work for. I come to work for my patients, the families, and my coworkers. And I come to work to laugh. And I know that's not professional, so let me help you. You and I see things every day that deserve our tears. If you don't learn very early in nursing how to balance that with some humor, you're going to be in trouble. But the problem, and you know this, is that we're not allowed to talk about it, except at work. It's something called HIPAA or something like that. Anyway, I'm just saying that every single person in this room has made the same mistake I have made. You went home after a shift and you tried to tell someone in your family a story from work, didn't you? and you were halfway through that story, and you looked up and everyone at the kitchen table was looking at you like this. And what do they always say to us? That's gross. And what do we say? No, no, I'm not to the good part yet. It was 3 a.m. in Davenport, Iowa, at Mercy Hospital, and I lost my patient. He didn't die, I lost him. I worked on a brain injury floor. This is serious. We have the Davenport police circling the block because my patient has cognitive deficits and could walk out in traffic, right? We have security doing all the stairwells. I am at the desk. I am a young nurse. I am sobbing. And this experienced nurse came up behind me and said, "Oh, Faith, buck up." She said, "We have to go down to his room. We'll look in the drawer and see what color sweatsuits are in his drawer, and then we'll know what color he was wearing when we left. Come on." And we go to the room, and I'm standing in the doorway, and this nurse yanks the drawer open and is going through it, when all of a sudden his closet door flew open, and out he came. Why do I love neuro patients? Because they always walk like they're late for an appointment. In front of us, he walks out of his closet, walks across the room, gets in his bed, pulls the covers up, and closes his eyes in one moment in nursing. I went from crying to pee running down my leg because I was laughing so hard. It is impossible for me to tell that story to someone who doesn't get it. But today, on our newly remodeled rehab unit, if I'm at the desk and Jason comes running up and says, "I can't find my patient," what is the first thing I will say? "Did you check the closet?" How big are the closets today? So he'll look at me like I'm nuts, but in my head flashes one thing: get up. Years ago, someone got up for you. You get up for him. It's what we do. My new favorite comment from new grads. You cannot relate. This only happens at my hospital. I know that. But a lot of times when I'm rounding her, they see me, a brand new nurse will say, "Faith, we're short." Oh. Well, let me get a pen and write this down. I want to remember the day and the time, because I'm sure it'll never happen again. And I just want to take a moment to say that you and I have worked shifts that technically, according to the matrix, were perfection. Unfortunately, there were 3 yahoos in the mix. So we didn't get anything done, and we all went home feeling horribly frustrated. And you and I have worked shifts where we truly believed we were being filmed by someone as a social experiment. And we had each other's back and had the best shift. And I could see you 14 years later at a conference, and we would smile, and in both of our heads, where do we go back? It is the work that you do that matters, and you matter. And remember that as you go back and someone says to you, "Did you drink the Magnet Kool-Aid?" I did. It's delicious. Let me tell you about the Magnet Kool-Aid. You've been a nurse here for 3 years, and you went through our residency program, didn't you? We didn't have that before Magnet. Let me tell you about the work that Frances just pulled up for us in her lit review. We have the most amazing librarian at Carle. And she has set up online journal clubs and teaches at our evidence-based scholar class. We didn't have that before Magnet. And I want you to know that because of the work of people in this room from Carle, we have dropped CAUTI and CLABSI by amazing amounts of, amazing percentages. And that work is from nurses at the bedside every day, and it's from nurses who say, oh, excuse me, you didn't wash your hands. It kills me today. It's called hand washing. Are you familiar with it? Do you know how a hand washing audit works? That's where I see you go into a room and not wash your hands, and when you come out, I go, oops, you didn't wash your hands. And then you say, okay, Faith, and go wash your hands, and then say, are you gonna mark me down? And I say, no. That's called a hand washing audit. We have a neonatal intensive care unit that absolutely decided 2 nurses per tubing change and dropped their CLABSI at a rate no one else could understand. It's amazing when you see nurses using evidence, but you guys, you have to understand, not everyone drinks the Kool-Aid. They only get like a half. And so they don't quite get it, but they're pretty sure they do. So before our last magnet visit, I was rounding on everyone, asking questions, and stopped a staff nurse and said, can I ask you a magnet question? Yes, Faith, I'm ready. I said, good. Can you tell me what evidence-based practice is? And with a big smile, she said, yes, we never do anything new here. And I'm staring at her thinking, what? And then I realized she didn't get what was she saying? You can't do anything with there's no evidence, you can't. I'm like, well, there's some standards after that called innovation. Let me explain this, right? It's getting people to understand, you guys, magnet is the reason, whether or not a facility is magnet, it's the reason they have shared governance now because they've heard about it. It's a reason that people come to our ambulatory clinics, our wound healing centers, our cancer centers. People come because we're magnet, and guess what? Reader's Digest says that's a good place to go. What I know is that when a new grad comes through the door and we say, why did you choose Carl? And they say, it's magnet, I smile. They are taught in their educational programs, go to magnet, because the RN satisfaction is higher. It's not perfect, but it's higher. You see, the fallacy that many people have about magnet is that we're perfect. But I noticed we did have some sessions on fishbone, 5 whys, and other things. We're not perfect. The difference is with magnet, there's a commitment to change it. Truly, as an MPD, it makes me smile when people come up, tell me some god-awful thing, and then say, do you think that's magnet? No. But I will tell you this, we're gonna make sure that never happens here again, and you're gonna be part of that process. I think if we talk just a moment about how important magnet is, that I have to take a moment and give a shout out to my colleagues here, the MPDs in this room. We are a very twisted bunch of human beings. The very first magnet conference I attended, I went to hear, I was just getting ready to start writing, and I went to hear an MPD present on how to write. And halfway through she said, it is so overwhelming. It is all you will do is write. And so I told my husband I would give him Thursday evenings. And I remember staring at her from the back of the room and thinking, oh, now you can dial that drama down. And then I wrote a document. Second time I wrote a document, we were asked for rewrites. I swear to you, if you could have heard my husband telling my children on the phone, you would have thought I was dying, that I had a horrible disease, because I came out of the kitchen and heard him say, I don't know what happened, but they sent it back. She's very upset. When you talk to her, don't mention it. I know the MPDs in this room because we are a sick group of people who don't talk normally anymore. We shake hands. Where are you from? Did you do electronic or paper? What'd you put in for TL7? I love when MPDs get together and start talking standards. And it just reminds me that a very wise CNO, Ramona Cheek, said one time, nursing is a practice profession. And along the way, you guys, we've gotten mixed up. There are too many people in this room that if I meet you, want to tell me where you started your career. I want to hear where you work now. And I want you to be so proud of where you work now. You don't have to tell me, I worked in the ED. Excuse me, you're a doctorally prepared nurse whose research is centered on the factor of fatigue post-MI? That's an amazing practice. Be proud of it. Well, I'm an outcome coordinator for the med-surg units. I think that's a pretty amazing job. Be proud of it. I don't need to know where you worked before. I want to know what your practice is today. Nursing will evolve when we can finally look at each other with pride and say, I'm an educator. I'm a researcher. I'm a leader. I'm the clinical nurse in dermatology. And we will give the same weight and status to every person who just spoke. That's how we know we move ahead. It's in every It is in every single one of us to understand that God put you on this earth to do what you do. And let me put it to you this way. God did not put me on the earth for hemodialysis. I know I've evolved as a nurse when I can look at every nurse here who does hemodialysis and say, I admire the work that you do. You guys, my whole background is pediatric and adult neuro. That should tell you two things. I don't like blood, and I don't like guts. But in Iowa, we had this thing, maybe you've heard of it. It's called cluster floating. Cluster, I said cluster. Okay. That's where you take nurses of like groups and put them together so ortho-neuro rehab will float. And CV step down and CV will float. It always makes sense until you get down to two units that no one ever knew what to do with. And they've now put them together for so long that people think they go together. They're called maternal child. Could someone explain to me what a laboring woman has in common with a 10-year-old child? Nothing, except he came out of one 10 years ago. But you guys, when I moved to Kansas City, they had just heard about cluster floating, and they said, we have 3 units we can't put together with anybody else, so let's put them together, OB, Peds, and Psych. Oh, wait, it gets better. And we'll call it the Family Life Continuum. So you know from the very first keynote and throughout this whole experience that there are heroes among us. And the thing that you may not realize is that to every patient you have ever cared for, you're a hero. How do you know that? Because they find you at the mall. And I love when a patient, and it's usually the wife dragging him towards me, but when you see people at the mall and they're coming towards you and there's that little telltale trach scar, so you're thinking, oh God, that's one of mine. And the wife's pulling, oh my gosh, there's Faith, there's your nurse. And they're coming close to you and you're just staring at them thinking, throw me a bone, I don't know you. I used to go home from those experiences and beat myself up because I didn't remember their name until one day it hit me. I have now cared for so many people that I can't remember their names, but they remember the care that they got. I want to tell you a story about one of my most amazing heroes in nursing. Her name is Maureen Horsberger. She graduated from the Mercy Hospital School of Nursing when she was 20 years old. And she retired at the age of 71. 51 years in practice in OB. Thank you, Maureen. It just blows me away what this woman gave to our profession when she started in that era. Oh my gosh, nobody got to go straight to OB. You had to do, remember this? You had to do a year of med-surg or you couldn't move on. Maureen was taken right to OB. And back then you did it all. And then in the early 70s, they decided that OB should be split. There should be nursery and postpartum and labor. And at that point in her career, she said, my heart is with the moms, I'll do postpartum. She became a postpartum nurse. Do you understand 51 years what she has seen in OB? When she started, they used to bring a suitcase because they were gonna stay. Now we have them squatting in the Circle Drive. Maureen saw the birthing ball come and go. She's seen the birthing chair come and go. She's seen a lot. Maureen was a hero at our hospital for years because of the way that she worked with primes. If you don't know what a prime is, that's a first time mom. You can never be a prime again. And I'm just saying they take a lot of time, all right? Very busy OB unit, very high volume of births, complex births. Anyway, you guys, when Maureen had a prime, this is how she would walk down the hall. Busy, it's a crazy unit. And she'd get right to the door of the prime and she'd always stop and do this. Ugh. And she'd put her hands behind her back. She would walk into the room like this, like she had nothing else to do today. She would lean over the crib. We did pink blue blankets. You can't mess it up. She'd lean over and look up and say, oh my gosh, he's a looker. He's not a looker, it's an ugly baby. She was a first timer. She came in last night, started pushing. We couldn't get the kid out. So we tried forceps, which scratched both cheeks and shoved the nose down. And somebody said, that's not working, get the vacuum. Now we're gonna suck a kid out of her. I'm just saying the head was weird. But every time Maureen would say, he's a looker, that new mom would burst into tears and say, I know, I think so too. People have been coming in and saying he has a pointed head. I don't see it. And then Maureen would always do this. And what's the name? Michael. Why, there's a name you never hear. What? Very first time I heard Maureen do this, I was in leadership, I was walking down the OB floor. I was there for one reason. In a 36-hour period, 7 Katie Lynn's had been born. 7. Let me help you, name alert doesn't work. When you have 7 babies in the nurseries with the same name. And I'm walking by a room and I hear Maureen in a room say, oh, Katie Lynn, why there's a name. I thought, she's drunk. She came to work drunk. So I waited for her to come out and when she came out I said, Maureen, how can you say that to people? You know she's not. She looked at me up and down and said, Faith, you're never going to get OB, are you? Why would I ever tell a mother? There's another Katie Lynn, she only cares about the one in her arms. Faith, I'm there for her, not the rest of them. And besides Faith, I've never heard that woman say that name, so I never have heard it before. And I remember laughing, and we both, were laughing, and I looked at her and said, you're good. The story I want to tell you, though, is about a day that I heard Maureen in a room. And she had done You're a Good Looker, and that's the name, but it was her conversation that drew me to the door, and I popped it. And I watched. Excellence. Maureen tells you you have the most beautiful baby in the whole world, and then she tells you you picked the right name, and then she gets as far away from you and that baby as she can. And to be real honest, she goes over to the windowsill and starts picking her fingers. And she starts some of the best teaching I've ever heard in my whole life. Yeah, he's a good-looking boy. He really is. Okay, look under his crib. Now you see the DVD, the pamphlets, the brochures, the plastic bag, all of that is free. No charge. Put it all in the bag and take it home with you. It's good information, yeah. But what I want you to notice is on every pamphlet, brochure, DVD, and the plastic bag, we have printed the same number. It's the number to the newborn nursery here. When are you going home? Okay, well, probably Monday night, Michael will wake up and he'll start crying and screaming, and no matter what you do, nothing will work. Pick up a pamphlet, the DVD, or the plastic bag and call us. Now, ma'am, I know you don't want to call us at 2 in the morning because you're afraid we're asleep, but really, someone's always awake. Go ahead and call. And first thing our nurses will do is take you down a very quick safety list and make sure Michael's okay, which he will be. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to remind you the one thing you already forgot, and that's that you're the best mama Michael could ever have. I don't know. There's something about bringing your first one home that people forget. And I remember watching her, and then she said, I heard you're going to breastfeed. Good for you. I got time. I'll hang out in case you need any hints. Why don't you go ahead and pick them up? And that's where most mother-baby nurses are going to flip. You got a prime going to pick up a baby. What do they all have to yell? Watch the head. Is that a problem in magnet facilities? We've had snapping off and rolling down the floor. I don't know why we yell that at people. But Maureen was always famous because she would never say that, because she said, I don't care how difficult the delivery was or how extensive that section, she's going home tomorrow. She's got to learn how to do this, so pick them up. And you guys, what drew me to the door is what came out of her mouth next. Look at the suck on him. Now that's a sign of a good nurser. Again, I'm from neuro. Don't say suck. Has a whole different connotation, kind of like cervical, okay? I thought she's drunk again, and I opened the door to see her over by the window playing with her fingers, and a brand new young mom, very proudly holding a little blue blanket. And the baby was sucking her neck. Now again, I'm a neuro nurse, but even I knew that was wrong. It was how she handled it that made me feel so good. She never cracked a smile. She just leaned up against the windowsill and did this. Yeah, that's a sign of a good nurser. Why don't you bring him down a little bit? Why don't you bring him down some more? Why don't you unhook your bra? Oh, for crying out loud. When she said unhook your bra, I wanted to walk into the room and say, Similac, it's over. But when Maureen is done, the woman is nursing. I'm from Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. We are the central part of Illinois where the farmlands are. If we make a mistake, we have a mandatory in-service. Unless we mess up real bad, then they bring us a bus and take us to Peoria. And then we listen to someone talk about the quantification of the research that they did on the impact of the positive I statement to the breastfeeding mother. And I sit there and think we could have saved some gas money here and had every single nurse spend one shift with Maureen Horsberger. You have a beautiful baby. You picked the right name. Here's how you get a hold of us. Here's the education. And I heard you're gonna breastfeed. Good for you. I'll hang out in case you need any hints. Did she said have problems? No. Everything she does is positive. CNOs in this room, many of them have what's called a drawer where they keep the nice notes, the good letters. So when you leave the budget meeting where they tell you to cut 10% from that budget that you worked so hard on, you gotta open that drawer and look and see what people say. And that CNO that had Maureen Horsberger used to talk about pulling out letter after letter that said, I had a nurse, and her name was Maureen, and she told me I'd be a good mama. I just want you to know it's been 4 weeks and my boy's still nursing. That's a letter. The last story I'm going to tell you today is one that I think encapsulates what's good about everything that we do. But I just want you to realize when you listen to this story, how sometimes the little things we do matter the most. I know we save lives, but you guys, it is the moments that make your practice. So, I was in Kansas City. I was the manager of the rehab department. I was in a very large hospital, 4 ICUs. They were having some cost containment issues. And so they decided to have all the managers take over the weekend house officer, nurse supervisor role on days. We were a big place, which meant as the manager of rehab, I only did it twice a year. And I'm telling you this, if I only have to do something twice a year, I don't learn it. Because it's going to change before I come back, right? And I do think you know the hierarchy of nursing, but let me tell you, one of my favorite research studies was done on a group of brand new grads from a BSN program, and they listed 50 things you could do as a nurse. Upon graduation, you could work in CV, ICU, SICU, PICU, NICU, whatever. You could work with a nurse practitioner, you could work at the public health department, you can work in corrections, you can work. They listed everything you could do, 1 through 50, and said rate them. No surprise to you, the graduates' top 10 was all critical care. You know who critical care is, don't you? Their stethoscopes beat against their chest when they run. That's how you know who they are. So 1 through 10 was critical care. Number 50 was rehab. Jail nursing beat us. I'm just saying that when I was the weekend nurse supervisor, there wasn't a lot of stature. And I would start every Saturday morning in that ED saying, excuse me, my name is Faith Roberts. I'm the manager of, you go upstairs and tell the units we will need beds. Okay. I would then go to 4 units and I'd say, hey, I'm Faith Roberts, and I'm the, you go tell the ED there's no beds. And I would just leave these screaming packs of witches, and I would go back to my office and hide. And I would come out a couple times to round. And there was a 6-year-old boy who had decided to take a glass and bang it on the cement at home because he wanted to see when he went outside with that glass, would it make a noise? And it did. I got him right here. So I want you to see, it was not his eye, but oh my gosh, it is very close to his eye. And he's a child with a facial wound, so it's going to bleed like a stuck pig. His mom heard the crash and the scream and comes out. She wants the helicopter dispatched now. She wants the transplant team on standby. She threw her baby in that car and drove past every urgent care and children's hospital in Kansas City and came to my place. We call that an inappropriate use of the healthcare continuum. She comes running in the door with a boy with a little cut on his face that's going to need sutures. Triage nurse completed her work and said, "Last room on the right," and off they went. Here come 3 student nurses for their first weekend emergency department clinical. Nobody told them to wear scrubs. They're all in white. And she said, "Down the hall, last room on the right, hold him down." You guys, students are literal. They didn't know they had to wait for the procedure. They thought they had to go hold him down. So this little boy is on a gurney, and somehow a student got under a knee and over an ankle and starts going like this. And the other student said, "I'll get the other side." So now we have 2 students going like this, and the third student grabbed his little wrists, and we have a moving tableau. Up to the triage nurse came a resident, and she said, "Down the hall, last room on the right." On the way there, he found himself a stool with wheels. So he glides into this room, and he stuck his face right over a screaming child. What did the child do? Spit. He glides back. He did it 3 times. He has spittle running down his cheek, and he looks at the mom and says, "I don't think I'm bonding with your child." Into the door came a trauma nurse specialist, big woman, if you get my drift. She filled that door. And she did something that you don't hear too much. She yelled, "Everyone, back off, now!" Those 3 students went airborne. What I remember them going by me was white and red, white and red, white and red, right by me. She walked over to the resident. She grabbed him by the collar and flung him back. He bounced when he hit the wall. And I'll never forget, this is what she said, "You move, I'll kill you." Now, I pulled out my notes and started writing because I work upstairs. We don't treat our doctors like this. She walked over to that mother and she said, "You, don't leave him, Mom. He needs you. He's scared. Mom, I know this looks bad, but I am telling you, we are going to get him fixed quick and you'll be home. If you see anything that kind of bothers you, just close your eyes. But don't leave him. He needs his mama." And then, you guys, I watched her. And I noticed in a moment, this child is hysterical on this gurney, that this woman was kind of rocking. And in a split second, I saw her elbows fly up, and she was on him. Let me help you. There is a tiny head sticking out here and 2 little feet here. When I went to school, we called that mummification. I don't think that's the right name. I would call it CBR, complete breast restraint. This woman had a set of mams on her that when she went down, the kid was like, "What?" And I'll never forget what she did next, because she did the one thing that only people with children understand. If a child is upset, you keep your voice soft and don't raise it, because then they'll hush up because they want to know what you're talking about. This kid was crying pretty hard, and this is what she said. And let me help you. This was not scripted, okay? This is what she said. "Oh my God, it's hot. It is so hot in here today. I'm telling him, hot. Are you hot, honey?" He's still crying. "I am. I'm hot and I'm tired. I'll tell you that. They've been working us like dogs." "You've had a hard day. Are you tired, honey?" Still quiet, going. "You know what? I'm hot and I'm tired. When I go home, I'm going to fix myself a present. You know why? I deserve it." Do you like presents? His crying is quieter, but he's still crying. She said, "I do. And when I go home today, I'm going to make myself a bowl of chocolate ice cream. That'll be a good present. Do you like ice cream?" He's still crying. And then she said this, "What's your favorite flavor?" and you heard this voice, Vanilla. The moment she had him, she kept her hand on his chest. And I'll never forget how she did it with the students. She went like this. What are you doing down there? Get up here where we're gonna do the procedure. Have you helped with sutures yet? Okay, well, today you will. And have you set up a sterile field yet? Okay, all right, well, we'll help you. Open, no, not that, yes, that drawer, open it. All right, what I'm trying to point out is she took 15 minutes getting these students ready, when most of this room, if we were honest, would have said, here, you hold them down and I'll do it, it'll be quicker. But she wanted them to know how we do things. So she finally had everything ready, you guys. Everyone is calm. She kept her hand on his little chest, and she reached back, and she grabbed him by the collar. And she brought him around on the stool with wheels. And she just glared at him, and he just started working. And halfway through that procedure, that woman changed how I looked at nursing. Because halfway through the procedure, she said this. Oh, honey, I'm sorry, I forgot, didn't I? Have I thanked you yet for coming today? Thank you. Do you see these 3 people? Well, they're learning how to be a nurse. And today when they came in, they said, can we see stitches? And I said, no, we don't have anybody. And then you came in. And I cannot think of a prettier face for them to have learned on. Thank you. And I remember standing at the door thinking, she changed the way I looked at nursing. I was into the alphabet soup. How many initials can I put behind my name? And I forgot no one has a job if we don't have patients. And you guys, when you're a level 1 trauma center, 4 sutures is not at the height of your prowess. And she thanked him for coming. I'll never forget it. So sutures are in, the little boy and his mom leave, we all leave, I go back to my office to hide. One moment later, not one moment, probably about 20 minutes later, my pager went off and it said, red, level 1 trauma red, which means move. And I come flying down to that ED and I hit that silver button on the wall. And the doors fly open and I jump in to save lives. And that's when I found out there was no trauma red. They had just done it to my beeper to make me run. And I come in and there's 5 or 6 ED nurses, kind of red-faced. And the trauma nurse specialist was seated in a chair going like this to me, with tears streaming down her face. And in her hands were 2 quarts of chocolate ice cream. And she said, you don't get it? You work upstairs. They bring you guys candy. I have worked here for 17 years and never once had a present from a patient. And I said, no, you don't get it. There was a mom who thought she was the worst mom in Kansas City because she looked away for a minute and her baby got hurt. And you said, don't leave them. When are we going to get it, folks? Why the parents of our asthmatic children wait so long to bring them in? They're terrified we're going to separate them. There were 3 student nurses who had already made a mental note, never, ever work emergency. And you showed them the beauty of what you do, and there was a little boy who was pretty sure a spanking would finish his day, and you suggested ice cream. I have no information for you on whatever happened to Mr. Resident. But I will tell you this. As far as I know, that young man and his mom are okay, but oh my gosh, you guys, all 3 of those students became nurses, but one of them became a trauma nurse specialist in Kansas City. I know he saves lives, but it was a moment in his beginnings when he saw 4 stitches and chocolate ice cream that determined his passion. That's the power of a moment in nursing. So I want to close today by saying to the colleagues from Carl, I'm so glad you're here. You mean the world to me. And to every nurse in this room, truly, you guys, your work matters. Don't let anyone take away the enthusiasm you walk out the door with today. If anything, consider bringing some Kool-Aid to work and think about how we can do this. So I will close by saying this to every nurse in this big hall who is older than the rest of us. We bow before you. You remember when the gift shop had cigarettes. To every nurse who is my age and lived through the 1968-70 period where they told us TB had been eradicated and said, you'll never see it again. Those liars. And to everyone in this room who only knows a world of blood-borne pathogens, it will never be who's been in it the longest or what you remember. It will be what you do when you go back to work, which I hope is this. When you walk through the door, whether it's on nights at the health department, in the clinic, when you walk through the door, you remember this. You do the most important work in the world because you're doing the work of human life. Thank you.
One more time for Faith Roberts. I just did not feel right with an overhead announcement thanking you for coming without sharing with you that we, in fact, did it. We broke the $100,000 mark in our fundraising. So thank you all so very much. Safe travels, and we'll see you in Denver in 2018. Safe travels. Goodbye.
Thank you for attending the 2017 ANCC Magnet Conference. Here's wishing all of you health, happiness, and success. We look forward to seeing you next year in Denver, Colorado. Please travel home safely.